Good morning, faithful viewers. You join me on a wet and miserable July morning where your mission, should you choose to accept it, will be to watch me go to the cinema and then come back and rave about Mission Impossible 7 Dead Reckoning. I'll see you in a bit. Wow. Just wow.
2 hours later.
Oh, I'm just checking that my heart rate has come back down to normal. It's 2 hours since I came out of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, or Mission Impossible Part 7, as nobody's calling it, and yeah, I think I've just about calmed down. Yeah, what a fantastic experience. I absolutely love the Mission Impossible films. Since the third one really kicked the franchise into gear. I've never actually seen the second one, the one directed by John Woo, and I really need to do that at some point. But certainly since number 3 onwards, they've got more and more audacious and more outlandish, more and more challenging and demanding in terms of the stunts that Tom Cruise does. And this is another absolute triumph of action cinema. It puts, I think, all the blockbusters films we've had this summer in the shade, even the ones I've liked. This is another level as far as action film entertainment is concerned. It's an absolutely stunning film. What can I say? Where can I start? What I like about this film, and I think the whole series now, is that certainly since Christopher McQuarrie took over with Mission Impossible 4, I think it would have been, or 5? 4, I think. Or 5. I don't know. Anyway, ever since he took over, I think it was 5, wasn't it? There's been a sort of a sense of interconnectedness, as if the different threads of the story and the characters continue through the films. Because I think if you see this film, I think you need to have seen all the other films, particularly the last 3 or 4, because there are lots of callbacks to previous characters, lots of return appearances, and lots of things happen that have a sort of a character related things that aren't going to mean much if you don't know the history of all these characters. And by the history of all these characters, I mean the Impossible Mission Force as it now is. Ethan Hunt, of course, played, of course, magnificently by Tom Cruise. Ving Rhames is back as Travis, the computer whiz. Benji is back, Simon Pegg. And we even get Isla Faust back, Rebecca Ferguson. So that's the core of the Impossible Mission team. And it's very important that you understand the backgrounds of these characters, where they all come from, what's happened to them in the past. Because there are lots of references to what they've been through in the past, and previous adventures and relationships and so on. So I think you need to see all the films. Well, it's no hardship because they're great films. But I think that's the best. You'll get the most out of it. If you just go and see this, you will have a blast for 2 3/4 hours or whatever it is of a film that will just blow your head off. But I think if you are more familiar with the backstory, the character relationships, and where these characters have been in the last few years, then you will get 100% from it. Story then, basically, without spoiling it and boiling it down, basically, it's quite a prescient or timely film, because it's about artificial intelligence achieving its own sort of sentience. And that's something which has been in the news quite a bit recently. And whilst this film has been in production for a couple of years, it sort of arrives just as that sort of in the forefront of our consciousnesses and our concerns. The idea is that some sort of artificial intelligence, which has become known as the Entity, which was intended to be a massive protective intelligence, if you like, artificial intelligence, has gone rogue and become sentient, and it's seeded itself into the computer system of a Russian submarine called the Sevastopol that we see in the opening sequence to the film. As is the way with a lot of these films, there's a MacGuffin. There are 2 keys which are needed to put together, which will give the person who has them ultimate life or death control over the entity. But those keys have been separated, and a bit like Dial of Destiny, I suppose, really. But the quest of the film is to find these keys and get them to safety and make sure they don't fall into the wrong hands. And there are lots of wrong hands in this film. There's various factions who want the keys for their own devilish purposes. The government themselves are chasing after Ethan Hunt because he and his gang are rogue. You've got, as I say, different groups of baddies who want it for their own purposes. I will say, in terms of the plot, you do have to pay attention, particularly to these keys, because they're flying all over the place, and there's duplicates and replicas, and I will, if I've got any criticism of the film, it's not, although the core plot is very straightforward, the twists and turns, you gotta stay awake and you gotta pay attention, and I will need to see it again to follow every little beat of the twists and things. But generally it's all very straightforward, very linear. Bad piece of technology, people want to get hold of it, Ethan Hunt wants to destroy it, which is basically where we are. During the course of the adventure, we get some new characters coming along, the best of whom is Grace, played by the brilliant Hayley Atwell, who turns up at Abu Dhabi airport when Tom Cruise, or Ethan, is trying to intercept a purchase of the second half of the key, because he's managed to locate the first half. He knows where the second half is going to be handed over to somebody who's trying to intercept it. But he encounters Grace, who's just a pickpocket, who's been employed by somebody, as we learn later on. And thus ensues a breakneck, pell-mell race across parts of Europe, really, which takes us to Rome and Venice. As Grace double-crosses him, he catches up with her, she double-crosses him again. They escape together. They're chased by these various factions. It's just breathlessly exciting. I mean, I just sat there for 2 hours, 40 minutes, just glued to the screen, because you can't not be glued to the screen for fear of missing something, because you don't want to miss anything, because it is so well put together. I mean, Christopher McQuarrie is such a good director. He really knows how to frame all this stuff, the action scenes and the drama. There's quite a few quite intense dialogue scenes, but they're very well put together and very tense. But the action scenes are where the film, obviously, that's what we're there for at the end of the day, and they are as stunning as ever. There are several set pieces here. I suppose it starts off with a sort of a callback to Ghost Protocol, with a sandstorm, a gunfight in a sandstorm when Ethan's trying to track down Ilsa Faust, who's got a price on her head and's got some bounty hunters after her, and she's got half of the key, so he needs to find her. So that sort of kicks things off. Then the next massive action sequence is the car chase through Rome, which for me is the signature scene in this film. It's absolutely astonishing. And, you know, we've seen things like John Wick recently, which had incredible car scenes and fight scenes and stuff. And you always think, how the hell do they do these things? So watching this, again, it was, how the hell do they do this? Because it's just an incredible scene. It's very funny as well. There's some very funny moments in it, because Ethan and Grace are actually handcuffed, and there's, you know, the back and forth trying to steer the car, steer it down alleyways. They've been chased by different groups of people, including a character called Paris, who's this sort of fairly silent assassin, played by Pom Klementieff, who we know as Mantis from the Guardians of the Galaxy films. She's a very powerful presence in this, because she's got an adamant-like white strip across her face, and she has a sword, a stick that she uses, and she's a really interesting new addition to the series, and she kicks ass. Let's just say she kicks ass. So that for me was the whoa! I cannot believe I'm watching this action scene. There are other action scenes, of course. Now, the last 40 minutes of the film or so take place on the train. I think at some point it's supposed to be the Orient Express, but I'm not entirely sure if it is. It's certainly a very lavish train, and that's just mind-blowing in itself, because one of the villains, Gabriel, is on board the train. He's jammed the mechanisms. It's a steam train, so it can't be slowed down. And there's any number of fight scenes, action scenes on the train, an incredible crash sequence at the end, which is edge of the seat exciting. It's just astonishing. I just really think it's over. Oh no, it's not quite over. Whoa, it's not quite over. It's just the tension and the drama and the jeopardy is non-stop. The one action scene which is fantastic action scene, it's the bit where we know Tom Cruise flies over the edge of a cliff on a motorbike, It's a great scene. It's a great scene, but I think the trouble is that's been slightly overexposed. We've seen it in the trailers. There's even a couple of featurettes online about how they did it. So when we see it, it's like, oh yeah, I've seen that bit. So it's lost, and it's a shame because it is a great stunt, and it is a whoa. Tom Cruise is nuts. Another one of those moments. But I think because we've seen it already, it doesn't have the impact of the scenes that we didn't know were coming. The car chase, the huge fights, and the action scenes. There's a fantastic fight scene on top of a train, which is in a way, an action film cliche. But again, it's done so brilliantly here that you think, yeah, this is just fresh and feels fresh and new. In terms of all the stunts then, they're fantastic. They're all brilliant, and they take your breath away, and you can't take your eyes off them. You don't want to blink. For me, I have to say that the Burj Khalifa stunt in Ghost Protocol is still, for me, the high point of the action scenes in Mission Impossible films, because I remember seeing that Tom Cruise with these adhesive gloves actually on the outside of the Burj Khalifa. That to me was like, whoa. And everything they've done since has been absolutely stunning, but that is still the sort of the one that I go to and think, wow, that's incredible. But everything here is just breathtakingly just exciting. And it was great to sit and watch a film, because normally you get a bit jaded, and you've seen lots of films over the years, you've seen all these action films, and you sort of think, yeah, this is fine, this is good. But this genuinely was edge of the seat, sort of grabbing the edge of the seat sort of thing. I don't normally react like that, and I didn't here, but I was just absolutely gripped by this terrific film. It's absolutely superb. It really is superb. I'm very pleased to see the critic ratings. I'm not a Rotten Tomatoes sort of, I don't set my store by Rotten Tomatoes or Tomatoes ratings. I don't know quite why that people set so much store by that, but they do, and its ratings are astronomical at the moment, and I think that it's much the same with the public rating. So this deserves to be a huge hit. It's an absolutely fantastic action film. I'm a huge Tom Cruise fan. He is really the last of the great action, big movie stars, if you like. His charisma oozes out of him. The chemistry with him and Hayley Atwell is just electric on the screen. They really sort of work well together. She's a great character as well. There's a lot of layers and depth to her, and she really steps up to the plate. And one of the signature Mission Impossible things, of course, is your mission should you choose to accept it. And the choice is something which runs through this film. The characters have to refer back to the choices that they made to be the people that they are. And it's a choice that she has to face towards the end of the film as well. It's just great. I mean, it's about 20 minutes before the title sequence kicks in, maybe more. And when it does, that music, it just sends a shiver up your spine, because you're stepping into this incredible world of action and adventure, the likes of which we don't get to see on this scale. And with this sort of integrity as well, you know that these films have been made by people who want to be creative, who want to entertain the audience. They're just not looking for the quick buck. They're not looking for the billion-dollar box office. They want to make damn good films that people are going to have a damn good time with. I did, and you will too. That's Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1's in cinemas now. Please don't miss it. Just don't. Don't be a fool. Go and see it as soon as you can. And if you do, let me know what you thought. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of it. Let me know what you think of the whole Mission Impossible series. I think it is the gold standard for action films as far as I'm concerned, and this does not let the side down in any way. I can't wait for next year when Part 2 comes out. Right, thank you for watching. Oh yeah, 10 out of 10. 10 plus out of 10 in fact. Thanks for watching. I will see you soon with more bits and pieces. Until I do, keep thinking the stuff.